The Galactic Council had ended civilizations for less. The chamber hung above a dying blue star, its light fractured through layers of gravity lenses and ceremonial void glass. Delegates from 1,000 species occupied their assigned vectors, some seated on thrones grown from coral metal, others suspended in fluid spheres, others present only as shifting mathematical projections. This was where the universe decided who was allowed to exist freely, and who wasn't. At the center of the chamber rotated a hologram of a small, unremarkable planet. Earth. Species designation human, intoned the archivist's mind, its voice neither male nor female, but impossibly old. Population approaching 10 billion. Industrial output accelerating. Extrasolar expansion imminent. Several delegates emitted sounds that translated roughly to amusement. They are barely out of their gravity well, scoffed Counselor Vrex of the Talcrine Combine, his serrated mandibles clicking together. They fight each other over imaginary lines and colored paper. Correction, the archivist replied instantly. They fight over identity, resources, and perceived injustice. That is what children do, Brex said. Supreme Arbiter Kale did not laugh. His species had once said the same thing about another upstart race. That memory still burned. The hologram shifted. Human warships appeared, crude by Council standards. Blocky hulls. External weapon mounts. Armor plates bolted on instead of grown or phased. They favor kinetic weapons, the archivist continued. Low elegance. High lethality. Psychological warfare patterns detected, symbolic naming conventions, historical references, and retaliatory escalation. Kale leaned forward, his many-jointed hands clasped. Summarize threat potential. A pause, rare for the archivist. Indeterminate, it said. Humanity demonstrates adaptive combat doctrine, decentralized command structures, and a cultural tendency to mythologize loss. The chamber quieted. Explain, Kale said. When humans suffer casualties, the archivist replied, their operational efficiency increases. That earned a ripple of discomfort. Vrex waved a claw dismissively. Every species believes its pain makes it stronger. They are no different. Kale's eyes remained on the spinning blue planet. They fractured their world twice with planet-wide wars, he murmured, and did not go extinct. They barely survived, Brex countered. But they did survive, Kale said. And they turned those wars into stories. The archivist projected human imagery, ancient battlefields, flags planted in ash, monuments carved with names of the dead. They remember, Kale said quietly. That matters. Silence stretched. Then the high speaker of the economic bloc pulsed his light pattern. Enough philosophy. The models are clear. If left uncontrolled, humanity will expand. Expansion creates instability. Instability increases costs. Several delegates signaled agreement. The solution, the high speaker continued, is preemptive control. We have done this before. Kale closed his eyes. Preemptive control. Soft words. Hard chains. They do not know we exist, Brex said eagerly. We arrive as guardians. Offer protection, technology limits oversight. They will resist briefly. Then they will comply. And if they don't? Kale asked. Vrex's mandibles curled into what passed for a smile. Then they will be corrected. The vote was called. One by one, lights flared around the chamber. Unanimous. The archivist's mind recorded the decision. Galactic Council Resolution 9, 771A. Species human, status, protective custodianship authorized. The star beneath the chamber pulsed as if in warning. No one noticed. At the edge of the Sol system, beyond Pluto's long, cold shadow, an ancient human listening post listened. Watchtower 9 was old. Older than most politicians. Older than several governments. It had been written off in budgets and forgotten in press releases, but not dismantled. Humans had learned painfully never to throw away a working alarm. Lieutenant Marcus Hale floated before a curved sensor array, coffee pouch drifting nearby. The station was quiet. It had been quiet for years. Then the instruments screamed. Hale frowned. That's not right. The gravity sensors spiked, then spiked again. Space itself rippled, not like a jump point, not like any known phenomenon. Run diagnostics, Hale muttered. The computer answered with a single line of text. Error, unknown mass distortion vector. Hale's spine tightened. Command, he said into the mic, voice suddenly sharp. This is Watchtower 9. We're detecting a large-scale spatial anomaly entering Sol. Multiple signatures. Static. Then a voice that had not been used in decades. Copy, Watchtower, it said. Calm. Old. Dangerous. Stand by. Hale swallowed. He recognized that voice from training vids and classified briefings. That voice meant history was about to repeat itself. The Galactic Council's envoy fleet arrived with flawless precision. 300 vessels translated into Sol space in perfect formation, their hulls shimmering with containment fields and diplomatic markings. They positioned themselves carefully, far enough to avoid provoking immediate panic, close enough to demonstrate absolute dominance. They broadcast on every frequency known to humanity. And several unknown ones. People of Earth, the message said, translated seamlessly into thousands of human languages and dialects. We are the Galactic Council. Your species has been observed, evaluated, and deemed eligible for protective custodianship. Satellites across Earth relayed the message. Screens lit up in homes, offices, bunkers, and bars. Under this arrangement, the voice continued, your development will be guided. Your military expansion will be regulated. Your continued survival is assured. A pause. Compliance is mandatory. On Earth, the reaction was not what the Council expected. There was no immediate surrender. No unified scream. No desperate plea. Instead, governments went dark. Military channels went silent. Social media exploded for exactly 11 minutes, then vanished as global networks shut themselves down. In a mountain buried deep beneath the continent, Admiral Ruth Calder stood before a wall of screens showing alien ships hanging like gods over the solar system. She was old enough to remember the Cold War. Old enough to remember when humanity had been told to be afraid. They think they're in charge, a young officer said softly. Calder's expression did not change. They usually do, she replied. At first. She turned to the secure console embedded in the floor. Its surface was scratched, worn by generations of hands. Confirm alien ultimatum, she ordered. Confirmed, ma'am. Calder nodded once. Then they've just made the same mistake every empire makes. The room leaned in. They announced themselves before understanding us. Calder continued. They assumed fear would do the work for them. She placed her palm on the console. Wake the fleets we pretended not to have, she said. Activate the programs we swore we'd never use. A red light blinked. Somewhere in the dark between stars, ancient human warships, mothballed, buried, or officially non-existent, began to stir. Calder looked back at the image of Earth. Let's show them, she said quietly. Why nobody ever managed to keep us. Far above, the Galactic Council watched the silent planet and smiled. They believed the quiet meant submission. They were wrong. The Council expected panic. They got silence. For 3 days, Sol system satellites and planetary observatories recorded nothing. No transmissions, no fleet mobilizations, no surrender. The human response, or lack thereof, gnawed at the minds of Council delegates. They had predicted hesitation, bargaining, perhaps even outrage, but not this eerie, deafening stillness. Councillor Vrex hissed through clenched mandibles. They ignore us? How can a species ignore us? Supreme Arbiter Kale did not answer immediately. His multifaceted eyes scanned the strategic projection of the human system. There were no anomalies. No spikes in energy output. No signs of panic. Only patience. The kind of patience a predator reserves for prey that underestimates it. Perhaps they are calculating, Kale murmured. Calculating? Rex laughed, though it sounded like metal scraping glass. They are infants. If they calculate, it is with sticks and mud. We could obliterate them, and no one would remember. The chamber shuddered slightly as the Council's warships prepared to demonstrate the proper scale of consequence. One of the Talcrine dreadnoughts powered its particle lances, charging the main cannon with lethal precision. Kale raised a claw. A measured strike, he said carefully. Only enough to assert authority. Rex's claws twitched with frustration. Measured? They will feel measured. They must learn fear. The decision was made. A strike vessel oriented toward Jupiter's moon colony, a mining station retrofitted for orbital research. In a heartbeat, energy coalesced, and the weapon fired. Light flared across the void. The colony was vaporized in a single, blinding explosion. Signal sent. Rex purred, confident. They will respond now. They did. Not with begging. Not with bargaining. A transmission cut through Council encryption like a blade. Galactic Council, said a human voice, hoarse, tired, yet somehow calm. You just killed 3,000 of our people. The chamber froze. Identify yourself. The voice continued. I am Colonel Jack Moreno of the United Terran Expeditionary Forces. And now, you've made this personal. Before the Council could react, sensors went haywire. Human ships, hundreds of them, appeared. Not in calculated hyperspace jumps, not along known trade lanes. They emerged from impossible angles, twisting into existence as if stepping out of mirrors. Their hulls were scarred, patched, asymmetrical. Some were decades-old vessels, retrofitted with crude rail guns and vented thrusters. They looked angry. And they looked ready to fight. Unknown drive signatures! Screamed a tactical AI. Multiple vectors! Targeting vectors, unprecedented! Focus fire! Rex commanded, but even as his fleet turned, human ships had already closed in. The first volley was not elegant. It was merciless. Relativistic projectiles tore through Council shields designed to shrug off energy beams. One cruiser fractured mid-space before its crew comprehended the attack. Moreno's voice came again, broadcast across every channel, calm and sardonic. You came to put us on a leash, he said. You should have checked if we bite. The Council's vessels recoiled. Some tried to flee. Others attempted to return fire, only to find human ships had adopted strategies no simulation had predicted. They rammed, they vented atmosphere for impromptu propulsion, they boarded dreadnoughts not to capture, but to sabotage, then escaped, laughing. Kale muttered, barely audible. They're insane. No, said Rex, claws trembling. They're human. On Earth, Admiral Ruth Calder watched the battle unfold in real time. On the screens, the alien fleet disintegrated under human ingenuity. Ships thought indestructible were torn apart by tactics that defied every law of logic, physics, and etiquette. We don't need to win today, Calder said, voice steady, cold. We only need to teach them a lesson. One they'll remember. Her aide looked confused. Ma'am, we are winning. Calder's gaze didn't waver. No. We're teaching. Somewhere in the void, a Council dreadnought prepared its doomsday weapon, a gravity bomb capable of sterilizing Earth. Sensors tracked a single human corvette drifting toward the massive ship. It was tiny, insignificant, unarmed by Council standards. The dreadnought ignored it. The corvette transmitted a single, calm message. This is for Jupiter Station, the pilot said. Then the vessel detonated. Not with fusion, not with energy weapons, but with a gravity charge. The dreadnought imploded into itself, disappearing as if it had never existed. Silence followed. Kale stared at the strategic map, realization dawning like ice across his mind. They were never defending, he whispered. They were waiting. Waiting for us to justify this. Rex's mandibles trembled. For what? For us to cross the line, Kale said. And we did. Far from Sol, human fleets continued their campaign, not to occupy worlds, not to enslave, but to send a message. They dismantled shipyards, destroyed command nodes, and left wreckage marked with a single, unmistakable warning. You should have asked. The war lasted 9 minutes. Not 9 days. Not 9 hours. 9 minutes. By the end, the Council's sole fleet was a fragmented ghost of its former self. Their warships, each built to withstand supernova blasts, had been dismantled by tactics that no simulation, or ancient archive, could have predicted. Humanity had weaponized chaos. On the bridge of the human flagship Old Ironsides, Admiral Ruth Calder surveyed the carnage. The alien ships had fallen like dominoes, shredded by railguns, rammed by old battlecruisers, and occasionally sabotaged by boarding parties who left wreckage as warning monuments. "They're smiling," murmured Lieutenant Hale, voice tight. He had just seen a crew detonate a Council frigate from the inside, then escape in a shuttle barely larger than a closet. "Why are they smiling?" Calder didn't answer immediately. She let the silence stretch. Then she said, "Because they don't understand fear the way other species do. They never have. And they never will." Human ships did not move like dancers. They charged like bar brawlers. They used damaged ships as battering rams. They ignited failing reactors to blow enemy vessels from within. Their tactics were reckless, violent, and terrifyingly effective. Across the void, Counselor Vrex's mandibles snapped in frustration. "Impossible! Their technology is crude," Cale interrupted, voice low. "And brutally effective. Brutally primitive!" Vrex shrieked. "How can such flawed vessels destroy fleets designed for conquest?" Cale's eyes narrowed. "Because their flaw is unpredictable. Their chaos is intentional. Every move is calculated to make you overcommit. And every loss we inflict only makes them stronger." On the outskirts of battle, a Council dreadnought, a command vessel armed to annihilate entire worlds, charged its doomsday weapon. It was enough to sterilize Earth in a single strike. A tiny human corvette drifted toward it, nearly invisible against the darkness of space. Sensors failed to recognize it as a threat. "This is for Jupiter Station," the corvette's pilot said over a single-frequency broadcast. Then it detonated, not with fusion, not with plasma, but with a gravity bomb so concentrated that the dreadnought imploded like a dying star. The explosion sent shockwaves through the remaining Council ships. Some lost cohesion, others drifted helplessly. Cale stared at the tactical map, realization spreading like ice. "They were never defending, they were waiting," he whispered. "They were waiting for us to cross the line." Vrex hissed, horror in every tone. And humanity had. They had waited until the Council demonstrated overconfidence, assumed obedience, and crossed the line of acceptable provocation. Then they had struck with calculated fury. And they had won, not by numbers, not by superior technology, but by unpredictability, audacity, and the sheer ferocity of being human. Moreno's voice came across the void, calm and controlled. "You came to put us on a leash. You should have checked if we bite." The human fleets did not conquer worlds. They disabled shipyards. They annihilated command centers. They left messages in the wreckage of Council vessels, in every language. You should have asked. In the Council chamber light years away, alarms blared. Reports poured in of human fleets appearing in unexpected sectors. Cale stared at the holographic display, watching his carefully orchestrated control plan unravel. They are everywhere," a subordinate gasped. "They are human," Cale corrected softly, realization dawning fully. "And they are exactly what we underestimated." Humanity had not attacked indiscriminately. They had chosen precision, strategy, and moral justification. Their wrath had been selective but absolute. Supreme Arbiter Cale allowed himself a long, bitter breath. "We did not anticipate that humans escalate conflicts when moral justification is exceeded." Vrex's mandibles twitched violently. They're teaching us a lesson? They're teaching us the cost of arrogance," Cale said. "And the universe will never forget it." Far from so, Calder allowed herself a thin smile. Humanity had not simply survived first contact, they had rewritten the rules. And they had made sure the galaxy would remember why no one ever underestimates them. The war was over. But the lesson had just begun. The war ended where it began. Not in the void. Not on shattered colonies. But in the Galactic Council chamber itself. Human delegates arrived, not in ornate ceremonial vessels, not with protocol blaring in impossible translations, but in a single, battered destroyer. Its hull was scarred, patched, and pockmarked with evidence of 100 battles. Weapon ports gaped open like the teeth of some ancient predator. The chamber froze. Hundreds of species had never seen a warship look alive. They walked in. No bows. No gestures of submission. Just humans, tall, scarred, eyes cold and sharp. Colonel Jack Moreno stepped forward, hands clasped behind his back. His uniform was old, frayed, patched in places, but immaculate in the way only humans could manage when facing death itself. "You wanted to control us," he said, voice calm, carrying across the chamber like gunfire. "To keep us safe. To manage our development. To dictate our survival." Kale, supreme arbiter of the council, rose slowly. Years of authority and experience weighed on him, yet he seemed smaller than the human before him. "You are dangerous," he said carefully. "Unstable. Violent." Moreno nodded once. "Yeah. We know." A murmur rippled through the delegates. Many species, even the most arrogant, had never heard humans speak like this. Few had ever been looked at like this. Moreno continued, voice steady. "Here's what you missed. We don't go looking for gods to kill." He paused, letting the words sink. Then he leaned slightly forward. "But we do have a long history of killing anyone who tries to own us." The chamber fell into stunned silence. Kale, who had once presided over the end of entire civilizations, swallowed. "What does humanity want?" he asked, voice barely above a whisper. Moreno smiled, not kindly. Not politely. The kind of smile that hinted at both triumph and warning. "First," he said, "a formal apology. Broadcast across your network. Every sector, every system." Rex recoiled in horror. "Impossible!" "Second," Moreno continued, "full disclosure of your technological archives. We like learning." Kale's hands shook. "And third?" Moreno's smile faded. His eyes hardened razor sharp. "You leave us alone," he said simply. "Forever." A pause. "And if we catch you trying again?" Kale asked, voice tight. Moreno shrugged, almost casually. "Then next time, we won't stop at teaching." The council voted. Unanimously. For the first time in recorded history, humanity had dictated terms to the Galactic Council. The human delegation departed, leaving a stunned chamber behind. No grand fanfare. No political posturing. Only the echo of words that would reverberate across light years. Species human, do not provoke. Ever. Back on Earth, Admiral Calder leaned against the railing of her flagship, looking out at the stars. The warships that had fought, bled, and survived alongside her were battered but intact. "Are they going to remember this?" asked a young officer beside her. Calder allowed herself a thin, wry smile. "They will," she said. "And every other species in the galaxy will remember it, too. We didn't join the galaxy as subjects. We arrived as a warning." Above them, distant suns glinted off scarred hulls, and somewhere in the darkness, a council archivist updated its records with trembling sensors. Species Assessment Update, Humanity. Status, Do not provoke. Addendum Ever. Calder exhaled slowly. She knew the universe had just learned a lesson it would never forget. And humanity? Humanity had only begun to show the galaxy what it meant to survive. The stars stretched endlessly before them, but one thing was certain: the universe would never, ever underestimate humans again.